talking about one of the 8 parts of speech, the prepositions. Be with me and let us learn basic English grammar together.
I am your Ate Kim, student of General Aguinaldo National High School, Alberto District. Before we start, I hope everything is set. Don't forget your notebook and ballpen for you to take down important notes as we go through our discussion.
Today, I will teach you about preposition of time and place. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify and define prepositions and how to use it in a sentence. Is it in the morning, on the morning, or at the morning? Why do we say at Christmas but on Christmas Day? Why do we go in a taxi but on a bus? That is what we are going to discuss in today's lesson. Let's start with in, on, and at as a preposition of time. In is very general, on is quite general, and at is specific. Let's take a look at in first. Firstly, we use in to talk about periods of time, general periods of time, because in is very general, such in the future, in the past, in the present. Some examples: in the future, I'd like to get married. In the past, I studied hard at school. In is also used to talk about years. For example, in 2005, I was born. My great-grandfather was born in 90s. We also use in to talk about seasons. These are big parts of years. In summer, in winter. Example, in autumn, I love seeing the changing of the leaves. In spring, I feel really positive. We also used in to talk about months and weeks. In November, in March, in January, in 5 weeks' time, in a few weeks. Example, in November, I will be 19. Or the opening of the class will be in a few weeks. Lastly, we use in to talk about parts of days. For example, in the morning, in the afternoon. In the evening, I like to relax and play either online or offline games. So that's clear? In is very general. Let's move on to on. It's much more specific but not quite specific as at. We use on to talk about dates. For example, on the 11th of November 2005, I was born. Another example, on his birthday, he went out for a meal. We also use on to talk about holidays that include the word day. On Christmas Day, on New Year's Day. So, we don't say on Christmas, but we do say on Christmas Day. We also use on for the days of the week. On Monday, on Sunday, on Friday evening, on Sunday morning. On is also used for the days of the month. On the first day of November. On the third day of December. Okay, let's move on to at. We use at to talk about specific times. At 11 a.m., at 12 o'clock, at lunchtime, at sunset, at sunrise, at the moment. We also use at to talk about holidays without the word day. At Christmas, I like to spend my time with my family. Let's move on to in, on, and at as prepositions of place. The rule here is same as the rule that I have given earlier. In is very general, on is quite general, and at is specific. Let's start with in again. In is used to talk about countries. I am in Philippines, he is in England. We also use in to talk about cities. I stayed in Cebu, in Baguio. Like cities, we also use that for neighborhoods and large areas. For example, in the Cotswolds. Cotswolds is a beautiful large area of England. Or in Kensington. That's a big neighborhood of London. We also use in for enclosed spaces. In a taxi. In a car. We also use in for in a classroom. In the house. In a box. Finally, we use in for books and newspapers. In the dictionary. I found the definition in the dictionary. Let's move on to on. This is less general than in, but not quite specific as at. On Fleet Street. On Fifth Avenue. On the King's Road. We also use on to talk about surfaces. On the floor. On the ceiling. On the roof. On the table. We also use on to talk about floors of buildings. Her office is on the 3rd floor. I am on the top floor. Also, we use on to talk about public transport. On a train, on a bus, on a plane. Finally, we use on for our communication and media. On the radio, on the internet, on the news, on the TV. I was on the TV last week. Did you see me? Finally, we have at. Very specific usually. We use at for addresses. At Barangay General Aguinaldo, Libo, Dinagat Islands. We also use at for specific locations. At the bus stop. I am at the bus stop. At the museum. He is at the museum. At is also used for shops. At the coffee shop. At the bakery. At the butcher's. At a party. At a concert. At a theater. An important one to remember is that we use at for home, work, and places of study. At school, I am at school. At university, I am at university. At home, I am at home. At work, I am at work. Finally, we also use at with top, bottom, and start. For example, at the end of the river, at the top of the page, at the bottom of the stairs. Let's have a quick recap of what we've learned today. Let's start with in, on, and at as a prepositions of time. In is very general, on is quite general, at is specific. We use in to talk about periods of time, years, seasons, months and weeks, and parts of days. We use on to talk about dates, holidays that include the word day, days of the week, and days of the month. We use at to talk about specific times and holidays without the word day. Let's move on to in, on, and at as prepositions of place. In is used to talk about countries, cities, neighborhoods and large areas, enclosed spaces, books, and newspapers. We use on to talk about streets, roads or avenues, surfaces, floors of buildings, public transport, and communication and media. We use at for addresses, specific locations, and group activities. We also use it for home, work, and places of study. We use it with top, bottom, end, and start. I hope you enjoy our lesson today and learn new concepts as well. See you in our next video session. Once again, I am your Ate Kim, reminding you that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. God bless!